Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode, or rather episodes, of Teen Wolf. Very amazing. Which side, I kind of got confused on this because it seems like it is 2 episodes, but then I was like, is it just like one episode that's 2 hours long? Whichever the case may be, episode or episodes, whatever the case may be. Freaking phenomenal all across the board. So much good stuff went down in this episodes. Oh, okay, and I just don't know where to start. I mean, ultimately we ended up getting the Anukete both halves coming together. I even love the story about who the Anukete's other half was. It turns out to be Gwen, the girl we had met earlier, because she was attacked by one of the cops, and there was that whole thing. They kept saying the name Gwen. I was like, Gwen? Who's Gwen? Gwen? And I was like, is that the girl from the first half of the season that Hayden got close to? And I'm like, no. And then they showed her. I was like, oh yeah, you. Also appreciate the fact that the Anukete has purple eyes. I don't know, it's always interesting when you see other things like eyes. For example, Mr. Douglas, I forgot his real name, from the first half of the season, being a Lowenmensch, is that what it is? And then half tiger, half wolf, half tiger, or something like that. He had green eyes, essentially. Or was that? No, I think that was after the whole absorbing the riders. He got the green eyes. Yeah, because he had red eyes before. Never mind, I forgot. Nevertheless, that's not the point. For one, it being in Gwen, and it turns out to be Mrs. Finch's daughter. In fact, it's so interesting because it makes you wonder about that whole thing. It's okay, you're a werewolf too, so why did you let Liam get the crap beat out of him? And then I'm I guess in retrospect, it's because she saw what was happening. She knew what was happening. And so she didn't want to do anything because she was afraid it would have attracted too much attention to herself. Or maybe she didn't correlate. She knew there was trouble, but she probably didn't know that Liam was a werewolf. She might have known, she probably guessed, but she probably didn't know for sure that Liam was a werewolf. Excuse me. That he was a werewolf, so she probably just thought they're beating up people because they beat Liam up because they think he's a werewolf, but he fought from transforming, so she didn't see it. So that's where my mind is. So she just didn't want to expose herself. At first I was okay, she hasn't transformed, she hasn't revealed herself. Why the purple wolf's bane didn't work on her. I guess she built up a tolerance to it. I guess her sneezing was her way of kind of fighting it a little bit. Because every test they kind of threw her way, she kind of pushed past it. I was so maybe her daughter's a werewolf, but she isn't one. But it turns out she is one. In fact, she's actually an alpha. But it seems like she's connected to the primal. And I guess it's a situation, I'm just diving in here, but it seems like it might be something where she left the pack behind. Because they're all about leaving their humanity behind, and she's a teacher and everything, and teaching students. She's kind of in modern society, they're all about leaving society behind. But she told her daughter to kind of go with them. She says she kind of blames herself because it seemed like she was pushing her daughter away. So I don't know whether it's they were having problems and she went to be with the primals, or whether she sent her daughter to be with the primals. Either way, because they were all in hiding. So it's sad that it ultimately came down to that. We don't see her for the rest of the other episode, but it seems like she probably healed up after triggering her healing ability. But man. But going ahead and skipping to it, the Anukete, not only immediately when I saw it, I was that thing looks so. I was wondering what it was going to look like, because there was that whole thing about Gwen and Aaron fighting each other, and I guess it's both sides represent the duality of this thing, and I guess both sides were fighting for dominance or something like that. I guess it's not one side's a good side and the other side's an evil side. They're both evil, but I think it's just one. They're both sides wanting dominance over the other. So it's just interesting. He had to kill Gwen first before absorbing the other half, but then transforming like that. I'm oh, I love that, because you don't really get to see a lot of transformations like that. The last time we saw a transformation like that was with the Beast, and I appreciate that design and everything, the purple mist. But immediately when I saw it, the way it looks, it reminds me of a Titan from Attack on Titan. I'm not that familiar with the series, but I obviously even if you're vaguely familiar with the series, it just reminded me of a human-sized Titan, which is just the way it looks like. It looks like skin underneath your skin, how all the muscles in your body look underneath your skin and stuff. That's what I immediately thought. And not only because it's scary how powerful this thing is. All it has to do is look at you and you turn to stone. It's almost on some Medusa level, with the way it handles itself. That's crazy. It literally petrifies you and kills you. It doesn't seem like there's any coming back from that either. It's once it petrifies you, you're dead. That just kind of blew my mind. Because at the same time, Lydia and Malia are trying to talk to the Hellhound who's actually still alive. I thought that was kind of neat. Like, the fact is, you can't really kill a Hellhound even with a silver bullet technically. It's just that the fact is that because the bullet had hit his brain, he was quote unquote dead, but he was still alive. But the bullet being launched in prevented him from healing. There was something else similar to that, and I just can't place it. That there was a similar thing like that, like the bullet being launched and something kind of kept somebody from healing. I guess it's almost like, I know, kind of going off book here a little bit, but it's kind of like Luke Cage, like his wounds kind of healing around, like, you know, his impenetrable skin was healing around the bullet that had pierced him. I know that's kind of spoilers for Luke Cage, but sorry. I'm sure there's something else too that's probably similar to that. I just can't think of at the moment. But I was like, that's crazy. Ultimately, you know, there's silver there, and by him healing meant heating his body up because a Hellhound and everything, and ended up melting the silver and ended up killing him anyway. But basically saying this thing is unstoppable. You can't kill it. The only way he beat it was by sealing it away. And, you know, Lydia felt bad about it because, like, we're bringing him back just to kill him ultimately. But Malia was kind of like, well, we need his help. Like, no matter what the cost is, he would have been fine with it because it's all about making sure this thing gets locked, like, dealt with again. You know, his focus has always been about taking care of this thing, so it's just kind of like a necessary evil to get the information they need. And if it wasn't for them, Liam would be dead right now because Liam was going up against that. He had ran into them, and like before it was able to look at him, Lydia came and pulled him out of the way. I was thinking what was going to happen is Gabe and the others were going to show up, and then like Liam gets out of the way and sees them get turned to stone. I thought that's what was going to happen, but man. Gabe got super lucky he did what he did because, like, Lydia and Liam are running by and it's like, yeah, that thing looks at you, you're dead. And Gabe hid behind and closed his eyes and, dude, it was so good. Now, this is hands down the most terrifying thing that they've ever gone up against. How do you fight something you can't look at? Because all it takes is one look and you're done. Which kind of another thing that kind of reminds me of is, I know I'm kind of going all over with my nerdiness. It kind of reminds me of like Bleach, without spoiling it. There's a guy that Ichigo had to go up against because Ichigo was the only one that could really go against him because Ichigo never saw this exact thing this character could do. So that's why it immediately made me think of, I'm sure there's something else once again, you know, but it's just so cool facing an enemy you can't look at because it will kill you. But what really got me in all of this is freaking Gerard using this as an opportunity to go after Scott. It's like, really? It's like, I knew you were evil, but to this extent, you know what this thing is. You know what it will do. It will kill everyone, but you don't care as long as you get what you want. I'm like, dude, this is an unstoppable and the Beast was kind of an unstoppable killing machine. This is on a whole nother level than the Beast. I doubt even the Beast could stand up to this thing. Like, but still, like, why would you do that? It's like, yo, I'll weaken Scott so you can kill him. You get what you want, and I get what I want. I want the wolves dead. You know, I want them all dead. I want him and his friends dead. You get them dead, and they're no longer in your way to ever, stop you or challenge you. And it's like, what is up with that, dude? How warped is your mind? And that's why I'm still mind-boggled on multiple levels because Gabe saw this thing, but then again, Gabe told Gerard. I don't know if he told Monroe or not, because that's the only reason why Gerard knows to not look at. I mean, he probably heard the legends before, sure, but I mean, even they didn't know until they talked to that Hellhound about this whole situation. So, but it's like, I guess, because Gabe, because everyone's so focused on hunting down all the werewolves. It's like, there's evil here in your front lawn. Like, because it's all more, it's instilling more and more fear. Because obviously you have the entire town. It's not just a few people here and there, not even people who are affected. These are people, like, it turns out nurses and deputies. Even one deputy's pulling Stilinski over, like, hey, we're not after you, just get out of the way. And Stilinski's like, dude, you're going after my friends, so yeah, this has to do with me. And it's like, dude, like literally everyone in town is turning against. It's literally the entire town of Beacon Hills. If you're not a supernatural, you're pretty much on Gerard's side at this point. And it's crazy to me. You even had like Sydney and Nolan there. You can tell out of anyone there, they were the most reluctant to be there. Obviously, like when they were loading guns, there was another person that was kind of loading guns that kind of looked reluctant as well. But it's like, dude. I mean, because like I don't even think Nolan or even Gabe realized what that thing is. That thing is Aaron, the one who started all of this, and that, you know, it blows my mind that this is all happening. Like, there's a huge threat. You're worried about Scott and his friends. They're literally the only thing between you and death, and you're trying to kill them. Literally skipping to the end of the episode, they shot at Deucalion, who's training Scott how to fight this thing, and you kill the one person that can help Scott fight this thing. You idiots! You're so caught up. I mean, and that's something Scott kind of hits on in the episode too. Like, you know, because it's like, what if all these people are being afraid? What if this thing doesn't really bring out that fear? What if it's actually just tapping in to what's already there, the evil in them? And but Scott's like, I don't want to believe that. I can't believe that. You know, because in his mind it's like, we take care of the Nukete, like, hey, everything goes back to normal. But it's like, no, this is beyond just fear, I think. Because you even look at Gerard, it seems like he's not motivated by fear. It's just like he hates so hard and so deep, because to him he blames Scott, because Scott has stopped him in every corner. Back in season 2, the whole using Jackson, you know, as a kinema. Back in season 5, well, part 2 specifically, him trying to gain the reputation of stopping the beats. Like, Scott has stopped him at every corner. So it seems like it's revenge for him. We also had Kate popping up too. It seems like, because she's like, yeah, like she steals a vial of Wolfsbane, and she's like, it's for a bullet for Scott. And even like Gerard, I mean, even like her brother Argent, who I always hear his name Chris, but I always forget. But I was like, oh, I can call him Chris. I was like, no, Argent. It's like, to the very end, it's going to be Argent. I'm always going to refer to him as Papa Argent. But Argent was like, what are you doing, sis? Like, you're really going to do this? Like, he's not going to love you no matter what. Like, you are what he hunts. And it never crossed my mind, because I was like, right, his daughter's a supernatural, you know, where Jaguar. I was like, I completely forgot about adding her into the equation, because we haven't really seen her since season 4, because the last time we saw Argent back then was like, he was chasing after her back in season 4. Like, at the end of it, he was going to go looking for her, so. But it's like, dude, she showed up just to steal, because she wants to kill Scott that badly. And it's like, what does Scott do? Like, once again, I think this all stems back from her blaming Scott for everything happening. It's like, how is this all his fault? He's done nothing but good. But I guess she blames him for the situation her family's in. The reason why things turned the way they did, that she ended up becoming the way she did, was because of Scott and Allison being together. I guess that, you know, that led to things kind of like, she just blames him for everything. Once again, if you want to blame anyone, technically this goes back to Peter. And even then, if you go back in front of this, like, technically it's the Argent family, they're at fault here. But maybe that's why, you know, it's like, I don't hear her going after her dad. It's like, no, I'm going after Scott. I want revenge. It's like, what did you... I guess because Scott stopped her back in season 4 from doing what she wanted to do. Ultimately, I don't even know I forgot what her whole deal was, like why she needed a young Derek. I forgot what that whole thing was about that she was trying to accomplish in season 4. I do apologize. But I mean, also, like, let's not forget my boy Derek is back. He showed up to help out because Argent was tracking him down. Which is like, this is our first time seeing Derek since subsequently season 4 as well. I mean, granted, we saw him kind of earlier at the beginning of the season during the whole, like, you know, while Styles is all like at training at the FBI, he sees Derek and he does a spit, like, oh, holy crap, that's Derek. You know, so that's like the only time we see him, but now we see him in the flesh and blood. We have no idea where Jackson is. That was something Lydia kind of tapped into, is like, where's Jackson? Because you had Ethan asking, which we haven't seen Ethan. I guess he's wherever Jackson is, because the last time we saw him, Sydney and Nolan had that bloody arrow, and he was kind of falling unconscious, so we don't know where they are. I guess locking him in some... Well, no, because like later on, like you see... Nolan ended up taking Liam to a hospital where like all these werewolves are strapped to a bed, and there's like Wolfsbane being pumped into them. And I didn't look at all of them. It looked like there were 3 people. Maybe one of them was Jackson and another one's Ethan. Maybe, I don't know. But it's like, what was that? Well, the whole point is, the whole thing was a trap anyway to get to Liam and the others by, you know, because they see, the question I'm curious about, was it all Monroe? Did Monroe from the very beginning, like, nope, can't trust Nolan, he did exactly what I thought he would and had him followed? Or did Gabe sell him out because it's like, yo, it wasn't Nolan that took that hit out on, like, you know, Scott and his family and his house. That was me, you know? So I don't know. It's interesting because I felt like from the very beginning, like as we saw it kind of progress more and more, that Nolan would kind of have to switch. But it's like, even he's kind of like backing away from all of this. Like, I'm curious to see what role he plays in this going forward. Like, because like from the very beginning, I was like, oh, we're gonna find out he's actually something supernatural or whatever. But it seems like out of anyone, he has the biggest reservation. Like Sydney does too. If I'm remembering wrong, but wasn't Sydney one of Hayden's like best friends? But then again, she probably never found out about what Hayden was. I don't remember if they interacted a lot during the first half of the season, or like after her subsequently becoming a kinema. Not kinema, chimera. I don't know what the hell. When she became a chimera, I think when I was saying kinema, I was thinking of Tracy at the time. But I think when she became a chimera, like I don't know if they really interacted a lot, because like more focus on anything was like her interaction with the beast, like the whole library thing from back in the like second half of season 5 when it attacked. So. But it's like I didn't see her being like, oh well, Scott showed up to defend us and stuff like that. It's like, what about that? This whole thing is because she wants to kill Scott and everyone like him. It's like, but I guess maybe she's scared to speak up because it's like if she stands up for Scott, she's gonna be looked at as an enemy. Because as we see, it's like because they were cheering when they found out, oh yeah, Nolan, oh he went to Scott's house, like yeah. Put a whole bunch of bullets in their house. It's like, did you forget to mention that there was an FBI agent in the house? His mom. That a lot of people got hurt in this whole situation. And it's just like, I'm very curious to find out like how much is going to be just these people and how much of it's going to be fear. I'm curious to see how this goes down because I want to know. Monroe has no idea about this thing. There's no way she does because Gabe had to keep his mouth shut because Gerard told him to. But it's like once Monroe finds out, like, yes, he wants to get rid of like the supernatural and stuff like that. Sure. But what about this thing? This thing is the greater evil, and you're going to tell me taking care of Scott and the others is the better option in these circumstances? It's like, what are you doing? Can't she see that Gerard is a little bloodthirsty? And I mean, before when Zelensky talked to her like last episode, she didn't really want to listen. It's like, oh, he's doing a job, blah 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 blah. They've got a list of all the supernaturals because they've looked at all the police report. They've got nurses looking at medical records of people like, oh, who came into the hospital wounded and they just went like about their business like soon afterward being okay. It's just everything is literally falling apart. The entire town is hunting down everyone that's supernatural, and it's just, I mean, considering what Beacon Hills is, it is literally a beacon, a home for the supernatural, and like everyone is being turned against in this. There are even like people, Liam kind of pointed it out to Nolan. Is like, you see all those people, they're avoiding you because they're afraid of what you might tell someone. So either that was kind of referencing that they're supernaturals, or the fact of the matter is they're regular people, but they don't want to take the chance that like, oh, if Nolan says I'm not, what if Nolan lies and said that I'm a supernatural, even though I'm not a supernatural, will I end up getting killed or something like that? I feel like that angle could be played too. I'm surprised Liam didn't kick his ass because it's like, hey, you take me to the hospital, and he's like, if I don't help out, you can kick my ass. And Liam's like, okay, I'm okay with that plan. But then he lets Nolan go. It's like, I think it's mainly because Liam's trying to keep his feelings in check, because if he lets go now, it's just he doesn't know if he'll stop. But I mean, Gabe later on beats the crap out of him, and it's just like you see that sadistic smile on her face, like yeah, like he's beating up a person he considered a friend and everything. He's bloody and everything. It's like, once again, there's a greater, like, you've seen the greater evil, but ultimately maybe it's a situation kind of similar to the Beast where Gerard's like, oh yeah, you'll help us take out Scott and his pack, then I'll put you down. Which I don't know how you plan on putting down something that can't be put down, something not even a hellhound could kill, that he had to seal it away. Which makes you wonder, how did he go about sealing it into the hunt? I'm just curious about that. And how exactly did this thing escape in the first place? And how did it get split in two? There's so many. I mean, I guess like the Hellhound did it, and maybe a combination of the Hellhounds fighting it, plus like the Ghost Riders, maybe they ripped it in half, and then those two separate pieces escaped at different times. I don't know. One thing, it seems like it might be one of those things that might never really get completely brought up, so... like I said, this is just a lot of the main plot, but there's like little points here and there that were so good all over the place. You had Theo and Mason kind of working together, which was kind of like, Theo kind of makes it kind of apparent, like, yeah, he is doing this because maybe he does want to be into the pack, but Mason's like, what are you talking about, dude? The pack is all about trust. No one's going to trust you. I might be scared right now out of my mind, but I would still not turn my back on you because I don't trust you. And that is the question, would anyone ever be able to forgive, like, Theo, he makes it seem like he admits like I am here. Yeah, but you're here for selfish reasons. You're not trying to protect other people. You're just in this for your own self-interest, which does beg the question, like at the end of it, will he go to Scott? Will he become a part of Scott's pack? Will he just go off and be on his own? Or will Liam welcome him into like his own pack or something like that? So many different questions about that. Then there's the whole Malia and Scott thing at the shower. That kind of took me by surprise. And she's like, yeah, you're just gonna have to hop in the shower. And he's like, but like she's still standing there. She's like, well, you already see me naked. I'm like, what? I was like, right, when Scott and them first met you, because when she turned back into her human form for the first time in like probably years. I think, yeah, definitely years. I was like, right. Then that whole thing happened, which later on when Lydia and Peter were looking for them, I was so sure they were going to like bump into her. Like first Lydia would be like, oh God. And, like I thought it would be something like that, especially when Peter was there. I was like, oh, it's going to turn into that. But obviously they were off training with Deucalion. But I was so hoping. And there was that back and forth. Like, why are you looking for Scott? Why are you looking for Malia? Well, can't you call her? Well, no, I can't. It's like, well, you're not, and it just kind of did that back and forth. And also along with the training with Deucalion, there's so many little moments I love, like the fact that Scott, kind of feels like, oh yeah, you're using echolocation. Oh, do you know what this means? I was like, oh yeah, sensing by, something else. And Malia had got it, but then like, it's like this next one, he's like, oh yeah, sensed by pressure. And Malia was like, pressure. And there was another one, and then Scott got it too. And he's almost like, no, it's okay. Could you look at her being like almost embarrassed, like, yeah, I almost like, yeah, I knew that. It's like amongst them, she's kind of like the worst student. But I mean, that's to be fair, like her whole circumstance, so it's okay. But that's just kind of a cute moment. Also, when they were training, and then like she's hitting Scott and just being apologetic. It's like, don't apologize. And she punches and smashes her hand against like the cylinder pillar or whatever. And this guy's like, oh my God. And then you have Deucalion be like, oh God. I never thought it would happen, but I almost wish I was blind again. It's like, they're that bad, and it's just like, holy crap. I mean, granted, Scott made some progress, but like I said, Deucalion got shot. Granted, we don't know if he's dead. I mean, depends on what kind of bullets they use, but man. On top of all this, Lydia saw everyone, so Peter, Derek, Ethan, Scott, like all of them turn to stone. So this is not going to possibly end well. And it's a line from Argent that says it best. It's like, this started in Beacon Hills and it's going to end in Beacon Hills. Like everything is converging. Everything and everyone. Like it is all down to this. And there was even this cool thing Mason kind of brought up. I forgot what the exact term was, but basically it means like night of broken glass or something like that. Essentially, the town was like super quiet, that basically this is going to be the night that they basically go on a full on assault. It's kind of like the night that like before like the Nazis went on like a huge like genocide against the Jews or something like that. Mason, it was like, wow. But it's like, yeah, because there was like no one around town, like literally everyone. Like I said, we see nurses, deputies, like you can't trust anyone else in this town. So like I said, overall, just a fantastic episodes. If in fact this was 2 episodes, then next week's episode might be the series finale. The whole reason why I'm like bringing that up is because when I originally looked at the info for the episode, when I was looking on a TV Guide or whatever, it looked like it was just labeled as 1 episode. So I don't know whether it's just like, I don't know if next week's episode is actually going to be 2 big episodes like this, or is it just a series finale, or is it going to be like the series finale, but it's a little bit longer or something? Because technically this was 2 episodes and there's only 3 episodes because there's only supposed to be 10 episodes, but not less. Each of the final 3 episodes is like 2 hours long. If they did something like that, I'd be fine with it, but I don't know if that is. So next week might be the series finale, or maybe it's like next week's episode is just a big episode, dude. Because it just, to me, it's just kind of weird that they would do it like that. Episode 8 and 9 will be lumped together, but not 9 and 10. Because I feel like out of anything, it'd be 9 and 10 to kind of get lumped together. Once again, we'll see. I'll most likely look it up after I'm done. Obviously, like when this is all done, like I'll be putting in the tags and stuff. I'll find out then. But so next week might possibly be the series finale, even if it is or if it's not. Either way, I'm so excited to see what goes on in the next episode because everything is coming down to it. The final fight is literally right around the corner. And it's going to be interesting to see how Scott and his pack find their way out of this, before it's too late. I mean, ultimately, that will be the question, too. Like, even if you stop this thing, will it stop Gerard? Will it stop Monroe? Will it stop everyone in town? Will all their fear and everything go away? What about Kate? Will she ultimately decide to take down her dad instead? Like, the question is, especially after what Lydia saw. So, I mean, this might literally all come down to Scott. but we will just have to wait and see. I also caught a glimpse of the next episode, and it was already something I'd already got spoiled in the trailers. I won't say what it is, but I was just like, ah! The first time I saw it, and I saw a glimpse of it, I was like, I wish I didn't see that, but nevertheless, like I said, we'll just have to wait till next week. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.